Welcome to this week's Session Spotlight. I'm Paige Taylor. Could certain additives and dyes be banned from foods and medicines in Oklahoma? Well, that's a question Oklahoma lawmakers are in the process of answering. A bill authored by State Senator Kristen Thompson currently lists 21 dyes and additives that would be banned in Oklahoma if this bill was signed into law right now. Here's what's on that list. Under this bill, these things could not be in foods in Oklahoma regardless of where they are originally manufactured. So this is something both large manufacturers and small companies would have to abide by if their products are on the shelves in Oklahoma. The current bill says these additives would need to be removed in foods by January 15th of 2027 and in medicine by January 18th of 2028. This bill was in committee last Monday and there was a lot of discussion among state senators. Some raised concerns that this is something that should be dealt with on a federal level, and others argued it's government overreach telling people what they can and can't eat. Senator Thompson did strike title of the bill, so it's still a work in progress and can be changed later on. It passed overwhelmingly out of the Senate Agriculture and Wildlife Committee, even though some don't agree with the current bill as is. Here's Senator Thompson explaining why she wants to see these things banned.
I just wanted to run through a few of these chemicals, and I did bring props, so if you want to, on your way out, you can see some of the chemicals that are in our foods. We've got things like yoga mats and bathroom cleaners and batteries out there. Speaking of batteries, propylparaben, it's in batteries, it's in our food to prevent mold and bacteria. This is actually banned in China. Titanium dioxide, it's a food whitener. It's found in paints, glazes, enamels, plastics, and out there you'll see it in wood filler. And so this is what we're dealing with. And so the general public doesn't know really what's in our foods. And so this bill, you know, as I mentioned earlier, when you have a child that looks at you and says things like, my insides feel shaky, I've heard from hundreds of families around the state, thank you for this. My child, you know, was having seizures. My child was having aggressive outbursts. We did a dye elimination diet and their lives changed. And so I think the conversation around this is so incredibly important. And I think what we're asking today is why are these harmful chemicals banned in other countries, but in America, where we have some of the highest healthcare spending, they're still allowed? I don't think this is government overreach because at this point, there's no oversight. I think in the interest of public safety, this is something that we need to advance. It's common sense. We're here to protect our children. We're here to protect Oklahomans in the glaring absence of the FDA. 35 years ago, they said you cannot use Red 3 topically because it is a known carcinogen. They just banned it in December. For 35 years, they knew it caused cancer, but we were able to eat it. So today, with this bill, we're saying no more, not in Oklahoma. You know, we, here in Oklahoma, right, we value life, we value our freedoms, and I think that's what we're doing today with this bill. We are protecting our future. We are giving Oklahomans the freedom to know what they're actually putting in their bodies. We're not taking away food. We're taking away chemicals. We're taking away things that have no nutritional value. They make things brighter, so they are more likely to sell off the shelves. They're hyper palatable, so we want more of them. They're made to be craveable foods. So that's actually what we're doing today. I think that the other great opportunity we have today is like, yes, this is absolutely the most robust list in the country, but I think we can lead in this space. We're a legacy agriculture state. What would it look like if instead of processed foods on our grocery stores that are full of chemicals, what if we shifted all of our focus to purchasing from our local producers? Clean meats, clean vegetables. What does that look like for our health outcomes? What does that look like for our economy? It makes us more sustainable as a state. Our food supply is more secure. You all know that economic growth and development is one of my biggest passions, and I view this as a huge piece in that. We're growing our local companies. We're creating healthier workforce, happier workforce, and increasing our health outcomes, and we can lower healthcare spending.
A bill to make changes to the citizen initiative petition process advanced out of committee last Tuesday. Several changes would be made and some are not happy. This bill would give power to the Secretary of State instead of the Oklahoma Supreme Court, so the Secretary of State would be able to reject citizen initiative petitions. People who sign a petition would also need to attest that they have read the entire ballot title before signing the petition, which some say creates unnecessary barriers to participation. It would also change how many signatures can be gathered in one area. So no more than 10% of the total signatures required could be gathered from a county with a population of 400,000 or more, and no more than 4% of the signatures collected could be from counties with a population of 400,000 or less. Some against the changes argue Oklahoma already has one of the shortest signature gathering windows in the nation at 90 days. Here's Oklahoma United CEO Margaret Kobos talking about what this bill would do and the concerns she has.
Just last year, the legislature passed additional hurdles for signature verification. This bill, 1027, is really part of a stream of legislation and proposals that are designed to shut down the citizen petition. This particular bill would take away the power of the Oklahoma Supreme Court to decide if the language of a petition is compliant with the statutes, and it would put it within the power of an unelected political appointee, the Secretary of State. That's one thing it does. It also would require an additional hurdle at the signature gathering process. So when you're a normal person and you're in the grocery store parking lot, already last year they instituted 5 potential verification requirements. This Senate bill would add another layer to that, making it harder and harder and harder to get those petitions. It would also minimize the ability drastically to hire the petition signature gathering firms that are necessary to make all of those, to obtain all of those petition signatures. So with a 90-day window, it's impossible to cover the state of Oklahoma with volunteers only. So every single petition that the state of Oklahoma voters want require the activation of signature gathering firms. So this 1027 would eliminate the ability to hire firms from outside the state to do that.
Senate Pro Tem Lonnie Paxton is a co-author of this bill. Here he is sharing his thoughts.
That's the main part of this, is where the signatures are gathered. So this would push a lot of signatures out of the metro areas to where somebody who wants to run an initiative petition, you would have to get a little bit more cross-section of the state of Oklahoma, not just focus on one area of the state. So that's the primary part of that, and so actually, I've not read what the final version that passed through committee is yet. I will look at it more when it comes to the House, when it comes to the Senate floor. But but what I understand is the percentages are larger in some of the big cities, but it does get pushed out where you would have to collect more signatures than just the large cities.
A last-minute amendment to a bill would allow members of the Oklahoma State Board of Education to put things on the agenda. Right now, only the state superintendent can do that. Last month, Governor Stitt shook up the board and added these 3 new members to the board. Stitt said Oklahoma's education infrastructure has fallen prey to what he calls, quote, needless political drama. The new members participated in their first board meeting on February 27th and pushed back on some of the items on the agenda, especially when State Superintendent Ryan Walters brought up immigration. Oklahoma House Speaker Kyle Hilbert filed the amendment to House Bill 1491 to allow members of the board to request an item to be placed on an agenda if requested in writing by at least 2 members of the board.
And really, I really want to zoom out a little bit on here, because this issue has been an ongoing issue at the State Department of Education, and it really doesn't have anything to do with our current state superintendent. There were issues with the previous state superintendent where board members wanted to place items on the agenda, and Superintendent Hoffmeister didn't want them on the agenda. And so unless the state superintendent authorized it, it didn't go on there. And so for me, the way I look at this is if we're going to have a board overseeing how taxpayer dollars are being spent and the education of our kids, then the board members should be able to have some say in the agenda items. And so it's really simple legislation in that sense. And when you zoom out to other areas of government, for most entities, whether it's a city council, county commission, or a local school board, in my experience, it seems like any time a member of the board wants to place an item on the agenda, it tends to get placed on the agenda. So this seemed like a simple reform just to clean up the statutes related to the state school board.
And that's your session spotlight. Check out my Capitol reports every Monday through Thursday on Fox 25. I also provide a look ahead at what bills will be heard on Sundays. For even more in-depth coverage, go to OKCFox.com.